Okay, now one of the obvious questions that I thought might come up when I started demoing the UA Enigmatic 82 Overdrive Special amp. So this is obviously based on a Dumble, an 82 Dumble. I thought people are going to ask, and they indeed have in the comments, how does it compare to the Fractal stuff? Or from the point of view, like, does this do anything that the Fractal stuff can't? So this is kind of the idea of this video, is to sort of do some comparisons. I didn't get too in-depth in the Fractal model itself, so I've chosen the ODS 100 clean for the clean part, obviously, and then I chose the ODS Ford for the driven part.
This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
Basically, I set them up as close, I think, as they are in terms of the knobs. So that meant not having the deep and mid switch on, and having presence, treble, and mids basically halfway. And then for the gainy stuff, just to show exactly what the character of the gain is like, you want your gain up high, basically. So those were up basically full. So this is kind of like the tip of what you could get gain-wise out of a Dumble style amplifier. As well, I plugged the blues driver in for the first chunk of like the solo part, so you're hearing like how it takes pedals as well a little bit. I guess my first conclusion after doing this was actually that considering they're based on different amplifiers, you will know that basically all Dumble amplifiers were made for specific people. And yes, there is like quite a lot of similarities between all of the Dumble amplifiers, but also differences. You know, I think a lot of the parts were bought from Radio Shack. The transformers over the years would have been from different bits and pieces. You know, the schematics changed year in, year out. So allowing for that, I think actually they sound roughly like two amplifiers that might have some subtle differences, in my opinion. I put them all through the same cab. I'll show you some like looped clips here so you can really hear some similarities or differences. What I'm noticing more than anything else is that this seems to be sort of like a tighter response in the low end, maybe a little bit more like an idealized version of a Dumble, versus in the Fractal, that low end is a little bit looser, a little bit flabbier, also a bit more sag to it. I feel like this is a bit of a tighter response. These are not necessarily good or bad things, it's just things that might be different. Of course, in the Fractal world, if you wanted to dial in or out sag and that sort of stuff, you can. In here, you're a little bit more stuck with what you've got, to some extent. What I did want to mention here was that actually I think the Enigmatic has some of the most in-depth stuff going on for a Dumble that we've ever seen in a model. I do think actually this format is a little bit stretched trying to cover all of that is available there in the Dumble. If you pair it with the app, there are even more options like swapping out the tone stack, which you could do in Fractal. I'm trying to think, is there anything that the UA can do that the Fractal actually can't? So let's just check the manual here. The rock and jazz switch is actually not in the Fractal model, so there's one aspect. Also, the deep mids and bright switches here, there is a switch, but there's actually 3 bright cap values that you can change here. I guess you can do that in the Fractal world if you get into the menus as well. I'll show you on screen actually some of what else is available in here. But I think for me, my conclusion more or less is that actually they're tonally quite similar. So if you've already got your Fractal FM3 or your FM9 and you're specifically looking for some decent Dumble tones, I think actually you've kind of got it already covered in there. I think personally that might already been what your thought might have been. But what this really shows to me is that the Enigmatic does kind of hold up really well with Fractal modelling, and I think that is quite a lofty goal in general. I think Fractal do some of the best modelling. This Fractal stuff here is actually based on a couple of schematics. There are some other options for Dumbles within the Fractal world as well. So there is an HRM, which Cliff actually owns. There's the Ford model. There's the ODS Clean. There are some Fuchs amps. There's 2 Rock in there. So there's a bunch of other options, as well as, of course, you know, like 300 other amplifiers. So you're kind of covered really nicely in there. You've got a mid switch or mid option for each of the models as well. So you've got mid switch here, deep and mid, but I don't think you get a deep option in the Fractal. So if you're really looking for a simple format that can kind of get down and dirty and customize things quite a lot, get basically almost down to the Fractal level of tweakability, then this might be the way to go. But I do think it sort of clashes a little bit with what this unit actually is in some regards, because like I feel like the UA thing generally is about simplicity. To put what is quite a complicated amplifier into this format and then try and deal with all these features. You're going to have to get into the app if you want to get into the depth of what this can do. But on the face of it, the tones are great in there as well, and a decent room. So I think, yeah. Okay, so if we jump into the app here, one of the things I kind of don't love about this, so I'm in my live mode at the moment, so if I want to store this, I go here. Anyway, so we got different settings here, like we've got 4 amps, so if I wanted to get more squishy, I could set it to that. We got an FET input. So that's kind of handy. Got here overdrive, bright cap on or off. Can we turn that on there? No, you've got to do that on the actual pedal, but so that's there. Preamp boost on or off. Is that different to the FET boost? Maybe. OD trim. So you got that as well. Got classic or sky. 2 different bits and pieces here. We've got HRM overdrive EQ, so essentially this means that you could set different settings for your actual overdrive. And so then you could have different settings for your clean. And then if I switch off overdrive, which I could do like this, we'd in theory have a different tone stack to our HRM. Let's just try this. So now I'm clean. So that could be useful. We got our master gain here. Revert to default is a nice little touch. So there's like some of the stuff that you can get involved in. You could also change it to jazz channel, but that has to be done on here. Presets as well, so this is kind of handy. Is there anything else that we're missing here? Quite a lot of tweakability there. It stacked up pretty well. Hopefully that answers some of your questions.